Hey everyone, welcome to Catholic Girl Talk. I have my dear friend Brooke with me. We're here to talk about the Eucharist. Yes, the source and summit of the Christian life is the Holy Eucharist. You can see I have like monstrance on my shirt. In the Christian and Catholic world, I'm seeing all these things about praying with the scriptures, praying in your daily prayer time, praying the rosary. So many beautiful and necessary Catholic devotions and prayer time. As Catholics, the Eucharist is the source and summit of our faith. And why? Because that is Jesus truly present there. We can read about him, we can pray in the Bible, in the scriptures. He is literally right there, present, body, blood, soul, and divinity. And we have the opportunity to physically interact with Christ because he's physically present there. And I think it's something that we need to just refocus on and just remember that. We go to Mass every Sunday and it's just like, oh, we receive communion. But like literally, that is Jesus. And if we understood that that was Jesus, like we would probably just be like flat on our faces on the floor. It's like, oh, it's truly him. So why don't you share, Brooke, a little bit about your journey with Jesus in the Eucharist?
Okay, so when I was growing up, my family was never like super Catholic. We went to Mass sometimes, usually not during the summer, and I went to like my faith formation classes, but I didn't like going because it just wasn't something that was important to my family. I didn't see why it was so amazing. I didn't understand. So I had to go on this confirmation retreat, and I did not want to go. It was not about it. And then when I went, I had an adoration with a burning bush, which, so for those of you who don't know what that means, they take a pyramid with different layers and they cover it in with candles and they turn all the lights off.
It's really beautiful.
Oh, it's on top, they put this gold thing with a piece of bread in it.
Not a piece of bread.
My little freshman ignorant heart thought it was a piece of bread. And then, so we all had to go to confession, and I obviously was not about that either. But I went to confession, and I had been having some like chest pains. I think they were just like growing pains, but they still hurt really bad. And the priest told me that when Jesus died for us on the cross, he didn't die from the nails. He didn't die from the beating. He died because he suffocated. Like the pain in his chest would have been like unimaginable. And he told me that I could unite the pain that I was experiencing to that. And it was amazing. And so after that, I went back to adoration for what I would later find out was about 2 hours, and I just remember being really happy. Like there was no reason for me to be happy. I mean, I was kneeling on a tile floor. The only logical explanation was that it was more than bread. Just filled with this joy. I was like giggling like a little girl for 2 hours, and it was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. And it was all because of Jesus in the Eucharist. And after that retreat, I decided that, okay, so the Catholic faith is real, Jesus is in the Eucharist, and that I needed to take it seriously, and so I had a lot of catching up to do, which our lovely Olivia has been so wonderful with helping me.
And now she inspires me, and I feel like such a bad Catholic sometimes, but it's fine.
Stop that.
So,
but the Eucharist is just so amazing, and we as Catholics are so lucky to have it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine being without the Eucharist.
Yeah, I think it's so beautiful that like Christ can touch us in that way, that he's so like physically present there, that like when you were on that retreat, like you just experienced his love and his presence, and that's a way he just manifests himself to us. I just feel led to shout this out, but if you ever have an opportunity to go on a Steubenville conference in the summer, do so, because it is a retreat for high schoolers, wherever you are in your faith. It will really bring you to see Christ's real presence in the Eucharist and get you on fire for your faith. And I'll link something below so you can find out more about that if you don't know. But I highly recommend going on those retreats. So 2 ways that as Catholics we can be more aware of Christ's presence in the Eucharist or participate more in it is receiving communion at Mass, receiving Jesus, adoration. So take one of them.
So I obviously have a special place in my heart for adoration of the Blessed Sacrament, and here at our parish we're so blessed to have a perpetual chapel where you can go in at any time and just see Jesus. And one of the beautiful things about adoration is that, like, you don't have to go in with like an intention, like, oh, I'm gonna pray about this, I'm gonna do this. Just sit there. And it's there was a story that a priest told me that he was doing an adoration in this farm village, and he would go every week, once a week, and have an exposition of the Blessed Sacrament. And there was a man that would go and he'd sit in the back, and he wouldn't kneel, he wouldn't do anything, he just stood there. And the priest asked him, he said, what do you do, if you don't mind me asking? And the man said, I look at him and he looks back at me. It's just a wonderful time just to sit there and spend time with Jesus like you'd spend time with like your good friends.
Yeah, that was St. John Vianney. That makes me cry. That's so beautiful. Jesus is really there. And if we believe that, like, what are we going to do about that? So we go to adoration, and that's a beautiful, beautiful healing time to pray, but also communion. So every Sunday at Mass, we have the opportunity to receive Christ in the Holy Eucharist.
Not just on Sundays. He's there every single day.
Every day you can go. Jesus makes himself available to us every day because he wants us to receive him. And just think about that. Like, that is Christ. And you get to receive him into your heart. And something that somebody told me about the Holy Eucharist is not that we consume the Eucharist, we do, but it's more that the Eucharist consumes us. So the Eucharist is transforming us to be more Christ-like. So we receive Jesus, but really it's Jesus who is conforming us to himself when we receive him. And whenever I go to communion, I just feel so, lately, as I'm more aware that Christ is here, I feel so unworthy. And I go and I just say, Lord, I'm just so unworthy, but thank you for coming to me. I just try to treat the sacrament with all the respect I can because I know that truly is Christ. Having that interior disposition and just that awareness, but also the more I'm more aware of him, the more I'm just like bowing down in reverence. So what do you do?
This is whenever you enter like the adoration, like a chapel of adoration or a place where the Blessed Sacrament is exposed in the monstrance, you don't just genuflect, you kneel and bow your head to the floor. Yeah. If you can't get it all the way there, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But that's a sign of reverence because he's not only there, but he's exposed for our adoration. Yeah. And then whenever deacon, father, or anybody opens the tabernacle, you should immediately genuflect and until he's done. And sometimes he takes a while, but it's just a way of recognizing that he is here.
I think sometimes as Catholics we're like, genuflect, sign of the cross, like habit, but it's because Jesus is there in the tabernacle. And then when he's exposed, we give even greater reverence because he's like exposed right there for us all to see.
I just think it's so beautiful, like the Eucharist, because of how vulnerable Christ makes himself when he gave it to us.
Oh, girl, I forgot to say that. Thank you for saying that.
Conceals himself under the form of bread and wine, and there's so many ways that you can like disrespect that. I don't even have the word to describe it. He's so vulnerable. We have to protect the Blessed Sacrament because it is Christ, because it is holy, and because he made himself available for us.
Yeah.
In that.
Like, he's God, like literally God. It truly becomes his body and blood.
It's so a mystery. It's we can't even understand how amazing it is.
Of all the ways that Christ chose to stay with us, he chose to stay with us in the Holy Eucharist.
It's one of the greatest mysteries of the faith.
I know, like under the appearance of bread and wine. But that's because he loves us and wants us to receive him. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to Catholic Girl Talk. Pass these videos along to your friend if you like them. Read John 6, like 22 through 59 if you want to read more about the Holy Eucharist. I've been praying with that lately. And also, Catholic Girl Talk has a website, so super exciting. Go check it out. You can subscribe to the email list. There will be some freebies in the future, but I'll let you guys know when those are available. I hope this inspires you to just take the Eucharist a little more deeply and experience the Lord's presence. I hope you all have a very beautiful week. Bye.
Yeah, I have to do that thing that priests do sometimes when they have super flowy robes. When I like go to reach for something, I'm like,
I'm recording you. What I have to do is like, sort of.
Just kidding. My shirt has Jesus on it, and it says Latin words, which I don't know what they say.
Neither do I. I looked up like common prayers and I couldn't figure it out.
I know X, V, and I.
So, editing that out.
Coffee break.